So I think, really addressing this one's really important. And I think really addressing this requires courage, because I think, you have to look at this and go, first of all, if I'm choosing resources, I have to hold those high standards for efficacy and evidence. But then I also might have to do what I call pull weeds and plant flowers. Because many times when we do an audit of all the materials we're using in our schools or all the materials we're using in our districts, if we have to make room for something different, something better, we have to pull some weeds to make room for that, right? Because it's not an additive process. It's designed to streamline and make efficient and coherent a literacy ecosystem across grades and across tiers. Because that consistency compounds. So when I think about this courage that it takes, sometimes the most courageous thing to do is de-implement, because sometimes we have to pull those weeds to plant flowers. So I want all of us listening tonight to think about that. Maybe this resonates with you. Maybe you've had to, in your own practice, give up some things in order to make room for others. And that's going to be a tricky thing. So, Ken, as an educational leader, how have you been able to kind of work through de-implementation in your own experience?
That is definitely, I will say, one of the most difficult aspects of implementation. Regardless, reading, math, you pick it. It's definitely a challenge. We get comfortable, I think, as educators, we get comfortable with things that we've used. What I try to do, and you mentioned about just audits of resources. I'm a fan of implementation resource audits, or doing like an inventory in order to try to figure out, what is it that has truly worked, right? Of course, from district leadership and school leadership, you have to take into account cost, right? We always have that kind of that's underlying and it's under the surface, so to speak. But what resources have made a difference truly, that have moved the needle for student data? And so if we can have something that can really back up those other supplemental resources, then it gives us some ground to stand on whether or not we want to actually keep those versus pulling those, and treating them as weeds that we need to move on from.